It is a cold winter's night when a Finnish spitz, Nalle, is born in the warmth of a farmhouse in Savukoski. In his sleep, the pup dreams about the surrounding wilderness and the adventures he will have in Korvatunturi, in the most remote locality in Finland. Nalle dreams about reindeer, and no wonder. There are more reindeer than people in Savukoski. Kemisompio is the largest reindeer herding cooperative in Finland. Rounding up the reindeer for separation in the autumn is a dreamlike and thrilling event at a time when the snow and the darkness become one. The snow makes the polar night seem less depressing in Lapland than in the south. Apart from the reindeer and the forests, what else does Savukoski offer? Approximately 1/3 of the municipality's area is protected. The rest consists of managed forests, rivers, fells and marshland. Savukoski has large protected areas such as the Kemihaara Wilderness Area and part of the Urho Kekkonen National Park. Above all, the municipality has space. In a locality of a good 1,000 permanent inhabitants, it is a rare occurrence for a tourist to meet anybody in the wilderness. It is no surprise that Savukoski is the most sparsely populated municipality in Finland. Nalle is but a pup. He dreams about the winter in Savukoski. In winter, tourists and locals use snowmobiles, skis and dog sleigh to move about in the wilderness and marshlands. In really deep snow, however, cross-country skis are the only means of getting about. On skis you can explore snow-covered forest that can't be reached by road, or trek in the safety of marked routes. Savukoski has around a dozen permanent trekking routes. Travelling by dog sleigh is a lot faster. Huskies are the North American cousins of the Finnish spitz. In the spring, capercaillie and black grouse start to gather at their courting grounds in Savukoski. They catch Nalle's interest too. Over the centuries, the Finnish spitz was bred to bark at birds. It is no surprise that in Finnish wilderness stories, capercaillie and the Finnish spitz are an inseparable couple. The marshlands in Savukoski are mainly in their natural state. In the spring, the calls of the courting cranes can be heard pretty much everywhere. Black grouse gather in the trees surrounding the marshlands to feed on buds and catkins. Some of the males continue to make feeble attempts to court the females, despite the mating season being nearly over. Blueberries are ripe for picking, and Nalle is growing into an excellent hunting dog. Although he mostly stays in the home yard, he dreams of exploring the wilderness of eastern Lapland, at the far upper stretch of the rivers Nuorttijoki and Kemijoki. The magnificent canyon of Nuorttijoki has a legendary reputation among hikers and fishermen. The river passes on to the Russian side of the border through a deep ravine. The canyon is part of the large Urho Kekkonen National Park. There were plans to log the trees in this area in the past, but the terrain proved too difficult, and so the wilderness remained untouched. Nowadays, only the stamps on the trunks of some of the largest trees remind passers-by of the logging plans. These easternmost wilderness areas are the domain of bears. In early summer, young males are left to look for a place to settle on their own. They enjoy the warmth of the summer. The youngsters must, however, keep their eyes open for other bears, especially unknown males. A carcass has tempted ravens and a couple of young males to the marshland. The offspring of a Lapland owl couple that is nesting in the nearby forest watches the bears closely from the safety of their nest. Wrestling is the play and work of the bear cubs. The young owl decides to take a nap. The breakup of the ice in the rivers and streams in Savukoski means the beginning of the fly fishing season to local people and tourists alike. To the Finnish spitz, it means pleasurable fishing trips together with their owner. Although salmon no longer lives in the rivers in Lapland due to the construction of power plants, most of the upper course of the river Kemijoki remains in its natural state. This means that in Savukoski, fishermen can be quite certain to catch grayling and trout. A hiker can come across signs in the middle of the forest that speak of the history of forestry in Savukoski. Several abandoned farmhouses and loggers' cabins have been renovated to tell the story of the olden times to modern-day people. The Tarkkala farmhouse remained inhabited until the 1980s. Today, this remote farmhouse is a popular tourist attraction. Forestry is still an important means of livelihood in the area. The museum in Tulppio, in the easternmost corner of the municipality, is another good window on the past. It was used in the logging in Nuorti at the beginning of the last century. Hugo Richard Sandberg, Kemi-yhtiö's forest manager, ordered 2 trains that moved on caterpillar tracks to be taken into the wilderness in Savukoski, all the way from North America. The interesting museum item along the Ukk hiking route is the only existing reminder of the experiment. The very same Sandberg worked actively to preserve the Finnish spitz that was still unrecognized as a separate breed at the end of the 19th century. Sandberg deserves a good bark. Towards the end of July, the marshlands in Savukoski are a heaven for cloudberry pickers. To locals, cloudberries are an important source of extra income, while to many a tourist they are a high point of the summer. Cool nights hide the surface of marsh ponds behind a veil of mist. The eerie light of the polar night makes the atmosphere soft and peculiar. It is time for the last kayaking trip of the autumn in the calmly flowing river that winds through the landscape. Savukoski has loads of official kayaking routes that are of various lengths. The most popular include the Kairijoki, Kemijoki and Nuortijoki routes. Stopping for a cup of coffee brewed over a campfire is part of the enjoyment. The tranquil emptiness and vast landscapes of Savukoski can be best viewed by climbing on the high fells. Some of them can even be accessed by car. The best way to answer to the call of the wilderness is to use your feet. The route that climbs up the Kivitunturi fell near the residential area of Savukoski, for example, provides magnificent views. Duckboards and steps make trekking easier in the marked routes in eastern Lapland and Ice Age scree-stone areas. Scree-stone can form even very large fields. Autumn is the best time for the Finnish spitz and the hunters. Game is in plentiful supply in the forests of Savukoski. Often the best part of hunting is not the catch, but the carefree walk in the calm forest with one's dog. Autumn is always followed by winter. The barren landscape of Lapland is quickly covered by a white veil of snow that can stay on the ground for over 6 months. The onset of winter brings out